Okay, in this tutorial we are going to discuss layers. So I'm going to open Photoshop. I've got to hit Command N to start a new document. I'm going to go with a US paper default, and I'm just going to accept all of those presets for that. Now, your layers panel should show up on the right hand side. If it does not, you need to go to Window and select it. Okay, now I had it selected and deselected it, so it went away, but back to Windows and hit Layers and it will show up on the right hand side. One thing that you'll find useful is that your layers are like everything that you should need with Photoshop. Everything that you need to to see of your document is all going to show up right there. Your background layer is always going to start as locked with the padlock. So I'm going to click on that to unlock it. And we can lock layers later on if we want to make sure not to mess up changes, but I really like to have it unlocked so that I can begin whatever it is that I want to start with that document. Now, if I were to add, let's say I wanted to add a photo, and I'm going to go to pictures for school. Let's go to Scotsman. Let's see about dragging in a PNG file and see if I can get to that to jump up. And that's a little, that came in as gray. Here's how you delete a layer. We're going to hold down on the blue. Actually, it's blue highlighted and I hit the delete button. Okay, that's one way to do it. Let's grab a darker version of that instead. And something we can kind of play with here. Okay. Now, notice when I drug in an item, in this case it was a Photoshop document, this crossbars across it are kind of telling me I want to place it. So I'm going to hit enter and that will place it. You can see that it now is its own layer. And this little box right here is actually telling me that it's a smart object. So the Scotsman is a smart object. I'm going to click on him and hit Command T. I can make him a little bit bigger. And so we're going to hit enter again. Okay. Now, I'm going to keep this pretty simple. Let's add a layer with type on it. Okay. So I'm going to hit the type button and I'm going to go to kind of a bold font that is pretty dark. I liked the one that flashed a minute ago, but now I can't remember what that's called. Let's see if we can find something. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Let's go with that one, okay? And I'm going to just drag it right across the top of my Scotsman. And my font's going to be black, and it's going to be 125 size. Oh, that's not showing up. Let's see if we can't get that action. We might, there it is. And we might have a problem with that font. There might actually be a glitch because it's not wanting to come up. Let's try this font instead. Okay, so there it is, just all black. Now, notice that here's my background, it's white. Then I have a Scotsman, and then I have the word Scots. The word Scots is showing up on top of the Scotsman because it's on top at the layer panel. So everything that's on top, what's on top here will be on top on the document. So Scots first, then the Scotsman, then the white layer. I can move my layers around when they're highlighted blue, and I hold them and I drag them. Now I just took the fill layer and put it on the top, which means it's blocking me from seeing any of the other layers. Or I can move it down. Now I can see only Scots, but it's blocking me from seeing the Scotsman. Or I can move it all the way down and it's in the background. I can take this one and I can move him at the top, and then the word Scots will go behind the actual Scotsman. Okay? So there's lots of ways that your layers can be arranged that will affect your artwork, that will change its whole composition. And you need to understand how that works. Sometimes I'm going to Command J that layer and change it, and duplicate it. And I'm going to say Scott's rule. Okay? Now I know that one. There we go. Now I'm actually going to Command T and make that bigger. That's transform, Command T. Okay. Now I want, and then I'm going to enter just to make that official. I need to go back over here and I'm going to put the rule in front of, in front of the Scotsman. So it's Scott's rule, right? Let's go back here, Command T that, and make this bigger also. Of course, I need to keep it on the paper. And I'm going to hit enter. So now I've cut something that's distinctively in the front, distinctively in the middle, and distinctively in the back. And artwork is always going to look better and more interesting when you have a foreground, a middle ground, and a background. Now, this is just one way to do that. And just with a plain old black and white design and 2 words and a Scotsman that I already had, I was able to make a document that looks kind of neat that would make a good little poster. Okay? So remember, the order of your layers is important. The layer that you're working with is blue. It can be moved around. It can also be renamed. So let's say I want to call this, let's say my layer, let's go back to here, my background layer, I'm going to call it number 1. I'll call the Scots number 2. Let's say I want to call this number 3. And let's say I want to call this number 4. And so I can rename them just by double clicking on the word that is already there, or in this case number, and type whatever I want for the title. Okay? If you ever add a layer, you can go down here to create a new layer. If you decide you don't want that layer, it's highlighted blue and you just delete it. You can see layers because there's an eyeball there, but if I click on that, I can turn the eyeball off. Okay? I can turn things off or turn things back on easily. The reason that you want to work in layers is so that you can change things separately from each other. I can make the word Scots taller or wider than the word rule. So by having them separate, it really helps. I hope this helped you to understand the basic concept of layers, the ordering, the adding, the deleting, the renaming, and layers is what makes Photoshop Photoshop. So I hope you've enjoyed this information and found it to be useful, and have a great day. Bye.